Coming to you live from the White Picket Studios in Houston, Texas, this is the Realty Ruckus. If you are in any way, shape, or form involved in the real estate industry, this is the show for you. And now, your host, Alan Hernandez.
What's up, everyone? I am not Alan Hernandez. This is Jabron Hernandez. I'm here with David Bonilla. We're here to bring you another episode of the Realty Ruckus. And as you all know, when Alan isn't on the show, we get to talk about things that are a little bit different. We get to bring up some charts and graphs and talk about the nerdy things in the industry. Now, before we get started, I just want to talk about our happy hour that we had the other day. That was one heck of an event, man.
It was, man. With a new VIP section in there, I think people were really loving it. I love playing the bodyguard and having to kick some people out. Like, VIPs only.
Yeah, so for those of you who didn't attend, you missed a great happy hour at St. Arnold's Brewery. And the new VIP section was a big hit. People went in there, they got their food, they got their drinks, didn't have to wait in any lines. It was really nice.
Let me check
and
here.
I just want to apologize. If you had to wait in line at the front door, we're getting these systems right. So sometimes it takes a couple of tries to get things right. There were some people that were so upset. They were like, oh my God, why is there a line? It's like, guys, easy. This is our first time doing this VIP section. We got to get it figured out. And that's what people do. That's how you grow your company. You start somewhere and you try some things and you see what works and what didn't work. And then you keep figuring it out. But I really want to give a big shout out to our main sponsors, Jet Lending and IMG Mortgage, because they really help to put this whole thing together. They really help make this whole event a really, really big success. So a huge, unsustainable. And what we were talking about earlier is affordability is a really big problem because wages haven't changed, but yet prices continue to go up. So I want to jump into that later in today's show. The other thing that we're going to be talking about is the first agent has finally completed one of Zillow's iBuyer programs. And we're going to talk about what their experience was like, what it was like to actually sell a home for Zillow. Was it a good experience? Was it a bad experience? We'll talk all about that today. Now, before we get into it, I want to bring up really quick, we like to bring up new gadgets, and normally I wait for Alan to be on the show to talk about gadgets. But I do want to bring up, there's this new lockbox coming out that looks freaking amazing. This thing was on Shark Tank. Okay, and everyone on Shark Tank didn't like it. They were like, no, this thing's not going to be popular. And the whole time I'm watching Shark Tank, I'm thinking, I like this lockbox. That thing is pretty neat.
We actually talked about, I don't know if you remember now, but we actually talked about this lockbox.
This exact one?
Yeah.
Oh, man, see, that's how short my memory is.
Well, it was when we first started the Ruckus, and I remember when they were trying to get funding for this, I remember this lockbox, and we actually talked about it for a little bit on one of the episodes.
Wow, early episodes. See, I don't even remember that.
So like 150 episodes ago or so.
So it's been a while. Yeah. Well, they're back around. They're getting ready to finally ship to the public, so it hasn't been shipped before. And the way that this lockbox works is freaking awesome. So it's completely Bluetooth. It hooks up to the Wi-Fi on the home, and it can do a lot of neat things. So one of the things I really like about it, because this works for all of the vacant houses that we sell, and it goes in line with the instant showing protocols that everyone wants these days, you can set these lock boxes up to where somebody can actually request to see a property. And then they scan in their ID, and the app verifies that their ID, that they're a real person, that it's a real ID.
Wow.
And then once it verifies a person, it can either immediately give them access to the property for a limited amount of time, or it can message the agent and say, somebody wants to see this property. Would you like to open the lockbox for them? So it's got different features. The software is really awesome on it.
It's not like a Supra where an agent has to have an app.
No, not at all.
There. Okay, so what you're saying is you as the owner can be at a remote location.
Yeah.
And kind of like how Open Door does, they have the list, the Open Door.
Yeah.
So you can essentially do the same thing and grant remote access.
Yeah, and you can do this with your homeowners. That's the neatest part, because let's say that the homeowner is, well, sometimes I can give instant access and sometimes I can't. Great. Somebody goes by the house, they want to look at it instantly. They go on the app, they request to look at it. It goes to the homeowner, and the homeowner goes, oh, damn, this morning I forgot to let the dogs out. I better not show it. They can decline the showing.
Very nice.
Or they can go on and they can go, oh, yeah, house was cleaned up this morning. The pets are put away. It's in showing condition. I'm going to go ahead and approve this. And it cuts the agent having to approve every single showing out of it. So sometimes one of the biggest frustrations I know for me is you'll request a showing, and then it's got to go through the seller, and the agent has to get to with the seller, has to get it approved, has to go back. It's a whole long process. This cuts it out, goes instant, direct to the seller. And now the seller and the buyer, he can choose to let whoever they want in, or if they don't want to let somebody in, they don't have to let them in. I think it's a pretty cool innovation. I think it's going to be really, really popular. And for those of you who are wondering what it's called Tour.
Yes.
Toor. And it's, I think, and what does it cost? I didn't even look at
$200 for a single one, or $500 for a 3-pack.
Okay, so it's not even that expensive because a Supra is $80.
And they look cool too.
Yeah, it's really cool looking, and it also works if you've got like Airbnb properties. It makes it really easy to show those properties. So there's a lot of other features in addition to it, but we wanted to really bring up the features that an investor would use on their own listings, and especially for those investors that they don't want to pay to have an agent list their rental property, but they want to be able to show it instantly.
Yep.
That's not a bad option at all. Now you at least have a picture of that person's ID and legitimized that it's a real ID. Now, we do have to jump to a quick commercial break, but when we get back, we're going to jump into our discussion about the housing bubble, where are we at in the bubble, how much further does it have full of inflation, and when is it going to pop? We give you all of those predictions right on the other side of the break. You're on the Realty Ruckus.
Hey Houston, this is Alan Hernandez, and I want to remind you guys to visit our friends over at Quest IRA to learn everything there is to learn about investing with your IRA. Now, if you haven't been over there recently, you have to check them out. They have free educational classes, networking opportunities, the ability to tap into $1 billion for your real estate investing deals. These are the guys to know when it comes to learning about this kind of stuff. You want to make sure you visit them and check them out over at www.questira.com. Again, that's questira.com.
Stop searching and start staying in the know with our Houston Real Estate Events page on Facebook. Follow us by searching at Houston Real Estate Events to stay up to date on the latest events for real estate in the Houston area. If you are interested in having your event on our page, please email me at david@whitepicketrealty.com. Again, that's david@whitepicketrealty.com. Non-paid events only. One more time, find us on Facebook at Houston Real Estate Events, and we'll see y'all at the next one.
Hey guys, Alan here. Are you a home investor in need of house plans and permit expediting services? If so, Houston Plans and Permits is your local one-stop shop. They have over 15 years of professional design experience and have a strong team of knowledgeable permitting expediters to service all of your projects. Please contact them by calling them at 281-372-1555. Again, 281-372-1555. Or visit them at their website, plansandpermits.com. Again, that's www.plansandpermits.com.
Hey Houston real estate agents, this is Alan Hernandez, broker at White Picket Realty. I want to let you know that when you're ready to stop working your real estate career and start building a real estate business, Team WPR is a place to be. Not only do we offer real results, real support, and real branding, but furthermore, 80 to 100% commissions of your hard-earned money going back to you. So make sure you reach out to us. Join at teamwpr.com. Again, that's join, Join, at teamwpr.com.
And we are back on Realty Ruckus. Remember that you can find us live on Facebook and YouTube, where if you chat with us live during the show, we can answer your questions live on the air. Now, if you are in Houston, I'm just going to give you a quick breakdown on what the weather is going to look like. It's going to be really, really, really freaking hot, and there might be like a sudden thunderstorm that comes out of nowhere and rains down on you like hell. Like what happened to me yesterday. Yesterday, I was out boarding, because I picked up this new hobby of longboarding. I'm trying to be young again. I want to be like these young kids these days. And so I was out longboarding. Out of nowhere, this giant storm comes out of it. I don't know what's going on, man. What's up with the weather in Houston right now?
Did you ever buy a longboard?
Do what?
Did you ever buy a longboard?
No, I stole somebody's longboard,
Oh,
but by
okay.
stole I mean like I borrowed it permanently. It's one of those type of situations. I intend to buy one of my own one day.
Gotcha, man. No, it looks like we're going to be in the high 90s all week long. No more rain, though, until Sunday. Maybe a 40% chance. But, yeah, 95. It's going to be nice and toasty out there.
Nice and toasty. So if you're going to be headed down to the beach, do know Houston's gray water is back.
It's back, yeah.
So if you were expecting to get that beautiful blue water, it ain't going to happen this weekend. It's not time for that. All right, so I want to go ahead. Let's jump into this conversation about the housing market.
Yes.
Let's talk about the housing bubble, and let's really dive in a little bit deep to figure out exactly what's going on here. So the first thing that we want to talk about is how crazy it's been, the rapid rise in home values over the last 3 years.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been absolutely unprecedented. We've gone from 2008, 2009, where home levels were just crashing, and we all know what happened then.
Of course, yeah.
We know why that bubble burst. That was an artificial bubble, so to say. It wasn't caused by any economic factors. It was caused by really bad banking protocols and people handing out money and making bets, quite literally making bets on the derivatives of what would happen with the housing market. And a lot of people were saying housing will continue to go up forever. And they were giving out loans to people that didn't need to have loans. I remember there was times when you would just sign and they would tell you, hey, you need to make about this much money to be able to afford that. So where it says income, you might want to write that number there. And there was no income verification.
Yeah.
You could basically get 6%, 5% loans with absolutely no credit check, with no income verification, with nothing. And that's what caused the last bubble to collapse. Yeah. And now we're seeing this rapid rise of home values again. I mean, there's parts of Houston that over the last 3 years have appreciated $100,000, $150,000 in value, and they were previously worth $100,000 or $150,000. So you're talking about 100% increase, a doubling in value over 3 years. That's not normal. That's not sustainable for the long run.
Well, even just on a national level, in April, I believe the numbers were 6.9% month-over-month increase, year-over-year increase for the month of April, which is, I mean, that's
home
crazy.
Prices.
Yeah.
Yeah, and well, we saw Houston had a record month in the month of April in terms of the median homes sold, in terms of the average price of homes sold, and we started seeing that the market for that 150 and under is almost non-existent now.
Yeah.
150 to 250 is slightly non-existent, and 250 and up has just gone crazy, and the luxury home market has even taken a huge boom recently. So it's something that's happening, and there's not a ton of explanation for it other than there's very low inventory for what people are looking for, and that's what people can afford right now.
So you're saying, so in your opinion, when you're seeing, there's no way we're not going towards a housing bubble.
I think that we are in the middle of a housing bubble. I think
because there's naysayers out there. There's people that, just like last time, say, you know, it's not going to happen again. It's not the same as last time. It's not the Wild West of lending.
I would agree with that. It's not the Wild West of lending, but you have to look at what people can afford to buy and what the next generation of people can afford to buy. So we're not only looking at what can we afford now, it's what can I resell for later? And you got to think about all these new jobs that people have and the fact that people are drowning in student debt. And that's another bubble that I wanted to bring up because it's one that's going to have a major effect on the housing market. Now, I want to admit, I made a mistake. I was wrong about something. And this is a prediction that I got totally wrong.
We don't hear these often.
No, we don't. And that prediction was that the student loan crisis, the student loan bubble, because yes, there's a bubble there also, was never going to burst. That was my prediction. And the reason I said that was because you are not allowed to default on student loans. You can't even discharge a student loan in bankruptcy. So there's no way to actually escape a student loan. Even if you bankrupt yourself, the government will still continue to levy your bank accounts. They'll still continue to garnish your wages. They're going to get their money back because they're guaranteeing those student loans. And I heard a really, really good economist the other day basically explain that the whole reason the government's okay with that is because they're using the interest from student loans and the payments from student loans to help cover deficits in other areas of the government. Now, we won't even get into that. What we'll get into is the fact that right now, 3,000 students per day are defaulting on their student loans. So what I thought would never happen is starting to happen.
Okay.
People are taking a debt that is not dischargeable and they're failing to make their payments. They're going into default on these loans, which means that they haven't made payments for at least 90 days on their student loans. 3,000 students per day.
Wow.
That means that in a year, 1 million students will have defaulted on their student loans. That's the highest rate ever. Now, who has student loans? The younger generation,
most
the
millennials.
generations that are coming up right now. So why is that a problem for the housing market? Well, student loans have one of the largest effects on your credit that you can have. And like we mentioned earlier, you can't discharge the debt. So they can still come in and garnish your wages. So if you're a W-2 employee, which most students, that's what kind of job they get straight out of college. They go into a W-2 position. Most kids don't go into 1099 independent contractor jobs. They're going and they're getting jobs that pay between $15 to $35, maybe $50 an hour if they got a really sweet engineering job somewhere. But it's a W-2 position, which means that the government can garnish those wages straight from your W-2. They go to your employer and they say, hey, Shell, John Smith over here owes us student loans, so we're going to need $500 a month towards his $100,000 that he's got in student debt because you can't discharge it. Well, what does that mean for John Smith? It means John Smith, now his paycheck is much, much smaller. And in addition to that, because he's in default on his loans, his credit score is going to be terrible. Nobody's going to want to give this guy a loan in the situation that he's in.
That's right. So
who is going to buy all of this overvalued real estate 5 to 10 years down the road? We're at a shortage of buyers all of a sudden. So right now, multifamily is not looking so hot. But look, 5-10 years down the road, multifamily doesn't look so bad if they adjust their rates some. I think that multifamily was on a climb to just this ridiculous spree of price increases, and it finally hit a point where it wasn't sustainable, and people started saying it's cheaper to rent a house. But if people continue to buy rental homes right now, I see people buying rentals for $225, $250, and they're not even hitting 1% margins on their rentals. And I'm going, that's a big problem. Because as the multifamily starts to lower their prices again, your home rental rates are going to start to go down.
That's right.
And your return on investment is going to go 0.8, 0.7. 0.6,
no
0.5, no cash flow, negative cash flow. And now that whole idea of I'm going to have somebody else make my payment for me, someone else is paying my mortgage. Well, no, now you're still having to pay your mortgage and someone's living in your house. So you have to be really careful with what you're investing in right now because we're in the midst of two separate crises. On one side of it, home values are shooting up, which is great if you own a home now and you're selling it. But on the other side, the majority and the amount of qualified buyers is going to be going down over the next few years. So you can expect that home values are going to have to adjust and go down with it because people inevitably are going to want to sell their properties over time. So people on average only live in a house for 5 years. So we're talking 5 years from now, when approximately 5 million people, if we continue at the same rate, will have defaulted on student loans. That's a huge chunk of the population.
We already see it now. There's already a shortage of inventory. It's already a complaint. And that's news to me, what you're saying, 3,000 students defaulting a day. Well, now you're creating even less people that can afford a home with home prices continuing to rise and those entering the job market, the wages are still flat. So I'd have to agree with you that, we are heading towards a bubble. I'd love to hear from any naysayers out there, someone that, wants to contradict that opinion and see, maybe where you're coming from or what you think.
Well, and I think
I agree.
When I think about the housing bubble and I hear people tell me, no, that's impossible. The lending's not the same as before. It's because I'm telling you, this is not the same kind of bubble.
It's not the same.
This one's not based around bad lending. This one's based around the fact that we're going to have a shortage of qualified people who can afford these properties. And it comes for two reasons. You mentioned a huge one right now is wages are flat.
Yeah.
Yes, the jobs reports look great, but one thing that people forget to mention is the jobs report also cuts out all the people that are no longer looking for a job. So you still have a lot of unemployment out there, and a lot of that unemployment is caused by the fact that people want jobs that pay more than the jobs are willing to pay. I've interviewed people who've come through here and they're college graduated, they're college educated, and they say, I want to make $25, $35 an hour. And I go, well, the economy doesn't sustain that right now. Companies can't afford to pay that amount in wages. And so they have to take a lesser paying job, or they fall off of unemployment and then they don't show on the unemployment reports anymore. So the jobs reports can be really misleading.
It's so sad, right? The people that just kind of like gave up.
Yeah,
like, okay,
there's a lot of people that
anymore.
give up and then they kind of just go and they do odd jobs. And I mean, look at all the people driving Uber, for example. Those people that are driving Uber now, they're making money. So therefore, they're no longer unemployed in the jobs numbers. But a lot of those people are actually losing money driving Uber. They just don't even realize it. Because just like with their student loans and their bad financial planning there, they're uneducated in the fact that they're losing money as an Uber driver. All of this comes down to financial education. And we're really, really loose in the United States on handing out money and saying, the economy's good. Let's give loans to everybody. This is going to be great. And the reality is, we're putting ourselves in a situation where this housing bubble, and I'm making an estimate that this is going to continue going up for about the next 3 to 5 years. And I think that it's going to be...
I don't think it'll be that long.
You don't think it'll be that long? I do think it'll be that long, only because I think we won't really see the hit until that generation of defaulted student loan buyers actually starts to need to buy housing or want to buy housing.
Well, I mean,
and
we're
then
basically
they can't.
almost already there, you know. For the home buying range really is 25 to 45, and millennials have almost completely entered that age demographic. So we're basically there.
We're there with the beginning of the millennials, and I think that there's enough responsible ones there that we're sustaining the market. But we're about to hit the digital millennials, the Generation Z, and they were not as good at financial planning as their predecessors. Guys, we have to take a quick commercial break. You're on the Realty Ruckus. We'll see you in a minute.
Hey Houston, this is Alan Hernandez, and I want to remind you guys to visit our friends over at Quest IRA to learn everything there is to learn about investing with your IRA. Now, if you haven't been over there recently, you have to check them out. They have free educational classes, networking opportunities, the ability to tap into $1 billion for your real estate investing deals. These are the guys to know when it comes to learning about this kind of stuff. You want to make sure you visit them and check them out over at www.questira.com. Again, that's questira.com.
Stop searching and start staying in the know with our Houston Real Estate Events page on Facebook. Follow us by searching at Houston Real Estate Events to stay up to date on the latest events for real estate in the Houston area. If you're interested in having your event on our page, please email me at david@whitepicketrealty.com. Again, that's david@whitepicketrealty.com. Non-paid events only. One more time, find us on Facebook at Houston Real Estate Events, and we'll see y'all at the next one.
Hey guys, Alan here. Are you a home investor in need of house plans and permit expediting services? If so, Houston Plans and Permits is your local one-stop shop. They have over 15 years of professional design experience and have a strong team of knowledgeable permitting expediters to service all of your projects. Please contact them by calling them at 281-372-1555. Again, 281-372-1555. Or visit them at their website, plansandpermits.com. Again, that's www.plansandpermits.com.
Hey Houston real estate agents, this is Alan Hernandez, broker at White Picket Realty. I want to let you know that when you're ready to stop working your real estate career and start building a real estate business, Team WPR is a place to be. Not only do we offer real results, real support, and real branding, but furthermore, 80 to 100% commissions of your hard-earned money going back to you. So make sure you reach out to us. Join at teamwpr.com. Again, that's join, Join, at teamwpr.com.
And we are back on Realty Ruckus. Remember that you can find us live on Facebook and YouTube, where if you chat with us live during the show, we can answer your questions live on the air. Now, I want to thank some of our listeners who are out there, and it lets me know that people actually pay attention to all of the nonsense that we discuss on this show. Because the reality is none of us are foreseers. None of us have a magic crystal ball, but we're all smart enough, everyone out there, to look around and see what's really happening. I mean, one thing can be the numbers that we're seeing, but we can also see other numbers that are signing to us that there's going to be problems coming down the road in the future. So Leo Aguirre, he's saying the bubble's going to burst in about 5 to 7 years. Mario Segura, a little bit more
optimistic than you are.
Yeah, he's a little bit more optimistic, but he still does agree that there's going to be some burst down the road. And Mario Segura says 3 years. He's predicting a much shorter time frame, kind of like you did, a much shorter time frame.
I'm thinking 3, but he's holding out 4 to 5 years for Texas. And I like that, Mario. Texas tends to weather these battles a little bit better than most states, so I can definitely see that. But for me, I'm in boat with Mario, 3 years.
One of the reasons I think that Texas has weathered these storms really well, and this is something that doesn't get talked about. I'm not even sure we're going to be able to get into Zillow today because we still have to talk about events. But one of the reasons that Texas does really well is that we don't have a state income tax. So people keep more of their money. And when you actually pay your state income tax, you're paying it in the form of property taxes. So it's funny. I talked to a guy from Canada the other day. He's a real estate investor. And he was going, man, he says, mate, Canadians, they say mate. And he says, man, mate, the taxes here in Canada, they're so high. The property taxes are killing me. And I said, well, man, what are your property taxes over there? And he said, can you believe it? 1%. They want to take 1% per year. And I was like, hey, man, there's places here in Texas that are taking 4.3% per year. And he was like floored. He couldn't believe that. And that's just the reality is that we do things a little bit differently here. We allow people to hold on to more of their money and then make that tax burden when they actually own property. Now, some people disagree with that and feel that the property owners shouldn't have to carry that burden, that everyone should carry it equally. That's your opinion. But I will say, I believe that doing that helps to stabilize our market because it provides more qualified buyers for those properties.
That's true.
I know a lot of people from other states that moved to Texas, and within 3 to 5 years, they've been able to save up enough money from not paying those state income taxes. I mean, California, 16% state income tax. New York, up to 21% state income tax.
Insane.
I mean, that's in addition to your federal income taxes. That's crazy.
Well, I mean, and you can also deduct that on your federal taxes, but when you don't have that money up front and you can't put it away up front, it just doesn't work out the same.
Well, and you say that, but one of the things that actually passed the House bill, but it didn't finalize in the Senate bill, they were going to get rid of that deduction to where you were going to have to pay both of them equally.
That would have, that would have been an uproar right there.
All right, guys, let's jump into some events and talk about what we've got going on next week and in the coming weeks. And I think actually there's a few things happening this week as well.
Yeah, so, I don't know about this week. What do you have in mind?
Never mind. I just knew there's a party tonight in Winburn Music Hall.
Oh, that's right.
I saw that. Yeah, I love that festival. That's like a street festival.
Midtown,
it's a ton of fun.
I'm going to have to see if I can go down there and get some spicy grapes because it's been a while. But next week on June 12th, yours truly are actually hosting House Flipping for Realtors with Advanced Techniques. And that's going to be here at our Southwest location. And it's going to be Tuesday, June 12th from 10 to 1 p.m. It's going to be just an introductory class for realtors on how to get started in house flipping. And then for those who do have some advanced knowledge on house flipping, Jabron's actually going to be including a few golden nuggets.
Yeah, we're going to be going briefly. So don't expect this to be a full subject to class, but we're going to be going briefly into what to look out for if you do run across a deal that's subject to, because we want everyone to be educated on this, what to look out for. How do you know if I've got a good Airbnb potential situation? Because you can market these properties differently if you know exactly what they could sell for. I'll give you a good example. Earlier, an investor from New Braunfels posted, who would be interested in an Airbnb on the Kamal River in New Braunfels?
Oh, dude.
That's a no-brainer, of course. But had she, heck yeah, I put my email address in there. But
let me look at that post.
Had she put on her post, who wants an investment property, ARV, 200 selling for 190, people would have laughed her off the stage. So it all depends on how you market that property and the context of how it can be invested. So we're going to talk about that as well in that class.
Awesome. And then a couple of days later, actually, NAREP is hosting a great event. It's actually NAREP North Houston. It's the effects of immigration on real estate. Now, this one's going to be up north in what Alan and Jabron like to call Timbuktu. I like to call it home. It's up in Woodson Reserve, which is a new build community. It's absolutely gorgeous, and they have a great amenity center where we're going to be hosting the event. It's Woodson's Reserve. The actual address is 4125 Waterbend Cove, and that's going to be next Thursday, the 14th. Tickets are on sale. Members are free, and for those non-members, basically you pay for the membership and you get into the event free. But there's going to be a panel discussion really talking about the immigration, which is so important, especially here in the state of Texas, and how it actually affects our real estate industry here. That's going to be it for next week. Do you have any other events on the horizon that you know of?
No, I believe Jet Lending's event is next week. Yeah, on Wednesday.
Oh, it's already the third Wednesday.
Yeah, next week is the third Wednesday. I believe Jet Lending's event is there. Remember, that's at the Redneck Country Club. That's one of the biggest happy hours in the entire city, and it's a ton of fun. Eddie always gives a lot of good information up on the stage. So does Renters Warehouse. And if you don't want to sit inside, you can always sit outside, network, drink a cold beer, eat some food, enjoy yourself. Guys, you're on the Realty Ruckus. We got to jump off the air. We're running out of time here, but thank you so much for listening. Remember, we're on every Tuesday and Thursday from 1:30 to 2 p.m. Remember to always keep up your ruckus and invite and share this with your friends so that they can listen too. Thanks again, guys. Again, you're on the Realty Ruckus. We'll see you next time.
This has been the Realty Ruckus. Make sure and join us every Tuesday and Friday for new episodes. Find us on YouTube and Facebook for replays of previous episodes. And as always, keep elevating yourself and keep up your ruckus. Thanks for listening. Realty Ruckus has been brought to you by Smart Pig Media Productions.